Every July 30 is the United Nations World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, sent to raise awareness of the plight of human trafficking victims, promote and protect their rights. Here in Nigeria, the battle against human trafficking still rages, and the federal government has been unrelenting in its efforts geared towards putting an end to the menace. As Nigeria commemorates this occasion with the rest of the world, we're now being joined for a conversation on the 2020 theme by Julia Okah-Donli, a Nigerian lawyer, chartered secretary and administrator who serves as the Director General of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, an agency established by the federal government of Nigeria in 2003 to tackle human trafficking and related matters. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure talking to you. Since its inception in 2003, how has this organization helped to stop the menace of human trafficking? Because when you look all over, it's everywhere. This menace, people being taken across the country, people being violated of their rights and things like that. How have you helped to stop this menace?
Absolutely. Nigeria has done very well in the fight against human trafficking. Since 2003, when NAPTIP was established to date, we've had about 428 convictions. Over 17,000 victims have been rescued. We've arrested about 7,000 perpetrators. We have about 150 cases spread across different courts in Nigeria. We've carried out massive awareness campaigns. We campaign online, we campaign everywhere you can think of. We've engaged every part of every single Nigerian in the fight, because the fight against human trafficking is a fight that involves the whole of government and the whole of society. We've engaged the faith-based organizations, the media, CSOs, NGOs, the state governments. Everyone has a role to play in this fight. We've had joint operations with different countries across the world. We've had joint investigations as well. We work very closely with law enforcement agencies across, and we've carried on this fight aggressively, and the struggle continues.
Would you say that there's been a decline? What's really the trend? I mean, you're having this mass campaigns, awareness campaign, and a day like this is set aside for awareness campaigns. What has been the impact of the observance of a day like this on curbing that menace? Is the message reverberating, or are we seeing a spike? What exactly is the trend?
I think people are more aware, and that is why we have more reports coming in now. And so it appears as if there is a spike. A day like this is set aside to raise awareness on the plight of victims of trafficking and call to action, the governments of the various countries to speak with one voice and to make up their minds to ensure that human trafficking is brought to the barest minimum or stamped out completely.
Well, today is the day that has been set aside. What is the theme for this year, globally and also in Nigeria? And what activities are we likely to see your agency engaging in? We've seen the video, very nice one, in terms of public service announcement and soliciting for support. But what activities do you have in place? What should we expect? And how can we be part of those activities?
Yeah, the theme is working on the front line to end human trafficking. The focus this year is on the first responders to human trafficking. That is those who identify victims of trafficking, those who support them, those who counsel them, and of course, those who seek justice for them. We've rolled out a series of activities. I was at Channels this morning, Sunrise this morning. I'm here on Arise right now. I also have a program on NTA today, all in the bid to, create awareness. The zonal commands are all engaged in different activities. They are having walks, they are having talks. Right now, as we speak, my officers are even in Bielsa, carrying out sensitization campaigns in the markets and in places like that. Of course, COVID-19 compliant. And then we're having a meeting this morning, a Zoom meeting, kind of like a seminar, with very powerful speakers. The Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, my supervising minister, is a special guest of honor. We're going to have the chief of IOM, chief of UNODC, other the EU, and so on and so forth. We're going to be talking about issues, bordering on human trafficking and COVID-19 pandemic, the challenges ahead. It's going to be very interesting, starting at 11 o'clock on Zoom this morning.
All right, great things you've said, great publicity drive, but I want the empiricals. So how many cases have you handled? How many cases have you handled? How many people have you protected their rights and given them, a veritable means of living again? I want the empiricals. I want the numbers. I want us to interrogate the numbers. You know why I said so? It's great to be, maybe because I have an advertising background, so I can tell you that it's good to put publicity everywhere, but if it's not converting, then the clients will look at you and say, oh, this is not worth it. You can make a lot of noise everywhere and not convert. So I want the conversion now. How many people have been rescued as a result of this? What are the numbers? And then when you come back to me on that, I'll come back to you and interrogate the numbers.
Yeah, I already said that at my opening statement. I don't know if you didn't catch that. If I remember rightly, I said the number of victims rescued from 2003 to date are over 17,000. I also said the number of suspects arrested are 6,658. I said we have about 150 cases in court as we speak. And I said so far we have 428 convictions and still counting.
Great to give me the numbers. But what has been the mechanism of arriving at those numbers? I mean, what have been the field work like? Because I hear that's where the bulk of the work is.
Don't forget that NAPTIP is a law enforcement agency. Yeah. We have our trained investigators. We have our trained prosecutors. And then we do all of this in-house. We carry out arrest. We carry out prosecution by our own trained lawyers. We have shelters as well attached to all the offices. In these shelters, we give victims psychosocial support. Rescued victims are given psychosocial support, medical support. It is in these same shelters they are rehabilitated. It is in these same shelters they are then empowered and reunited back to their families. This is how we operate.
Can we get some of those success stories of those reunited with their family? I mean, what has been the empirical evidence on their lives? We want to hear this part of it.
Wow, we have so many. We have too many success stories. As we speak right now, we have 3 ladies who were sent through school when after they were rescued. Some of them could not even speak in English. NAPTIP sent them through primary school, secondary school, university, and they are employed in NAPTIP. They work with NAPTIP. What can be better than that? We have so many that, we've sent on skill acquisition programs. Some of them are undergraduates right now as we speak in University of Abuja. So we have so many people like that. Perhaps I should have invited maybe 1 or 2 people who can talk to you, to tell you, their success stories. So you'll be hearing from them and not from me. But these are some of the success stories that gladden my heart, that we've made people better than we met them. And we still do that and will continue to do that.
I was asking you to help us give a picture of what happens in reality. Where are the states that are most notorious for human trafficking in Nigeria? And in what direction do we have the largest flow in terms of destination?
Initially, Edo State, Delta State were the most notorious states involved in trafficking towards Europe, countries like Italy, Spain, France, and so on. But right now, as we speak, there's no notorious country. There's no notorious states. All the states are notorious and going in different directions. For example, when you talk about going to Europe, we have the south-south, the southeast going towards Europe. And then when you talk about going to Libya, the Middle East, we're looking at the southwest, we're looking at the northwest, we're looking at the northern states, we're looking at the southern states, going towards Libya, Lebanon, and these Middle Eastern countries. So the truth right now, all the states are notorious. There is no notorious state any longer. Everybody is going to different locations.
Well, Madam DG, I would like to find out what remains your biggest challenge in fighting this menace, and what are some of the obstacles that these people that are rescued and returned to the country face in seeking justice and resettling back to society? But we'll take a quick break and we'll return to get your response on that question. Stay with us, please. Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Rise News. Nigeria today joins the rest of the world to mark the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. And the DG of NAPTIP is with us from her office, actually. Thank you so much, Madam DG, for staying with us. My question before the break, just to reiterate for those who may have just joined us again, what remains the biggest challenge for you as an agency to ensure that, we start to see a reverse of those numbers of persons trafficked? And then for those who have been rescued, either within the country, because people can be trafficked within the country, if I'm correct, and they can be trafficked out of the country. So for those who are rescued and those who are returned to the country, what are the obstacles, they face in accessing, justice, redress, and even being reintegrated into society?
Well, I would say there are obstacles that the victims face in terms of getting any form of redress. We work with information. If we are given information, we prosecute. And so when these victims come, we profile them, and then we begin to investigate to find out if they know their traffickers. If they give us information, we go after the traffickers, we prosecute them. So for those who don't have any useful information to give to us, there's unfortunately absolutely nothing we can do. But a lot of them have been able to get justice when they're able to give us useful information that will lead to the arrest of the traffickers. You asked about some of the challenges. When it comes to some destination countries, we have problems like lack of, transparency per se, not sharing information with us, no mutual legal assistance, lack of cooperation, proper cooperation in terms of even prosecuting their own citizens. Most of the time, we end up prosecuting Nigerians, but when you ask them for those who the Nigerians are collaborating with, they tell you, no, it's just Nigerians that are involved, which is absolutely false. So these are some of the issues, some of the difficulties I face. Back here on our part again, within Nigeria, we have a problem of the mindset of a lot of Nigerians who think that they have to go abroad to get any useful form of sustenance, whereas they spend so much money to get themselves trafficked, and monies that could easily have been used there to set up something. So we need to have a massive national orientation and reorientation to change the mindset. Changing the mindset for me is key. And I hope that, people are beginning to change the way they think.
All right, I'd like to talk to you about those traffic points. I once saw a documentary by a reputable media house where the undercover journalist went on those buses with them. How the buses started up from a certain state in the country, and they went up into, through the border, got out of Nigeria, the situation they lived in and things like that. And the undercover journalist followed them up to, I think it was Agadez or after Agadez, before she came down from the bus and came back. And it shows that there's a viable trafficking route in this country. There are different routes, but very viable ones that people just, get into the buses normally and they know where their destination is going to be. I mean, what have you done to be able to block those parts and stop them from getting out and stop such routes like that?
Unfortunately, not the Nigeria Immigration Services. Our men are not in any of the borders. I have been canvassing to have our men at least in these borders, because this is our primary responsibility, to identify potential victims of trafficking, to identify traffickers, and to stop them in their tracks, because we are trained and we have the eyes for that. And until we are put in the borders, I would not be able to answer that question because we rely solely on the Nigerian Immigration Services who are at the borders.
Well, the NAPTIP Act was reenacted in 2015. First, we had the NAPTIP Act of 2003. In 2015, it was upgraded. NAPTIP has had about 5 years of implementing that particular piece of legislation. Are there parts of the law, even as it's been amended, where you have observed certain omissions? And what is the level of cooperation between NAPTIP as an agency and the relevant sections of the National Assembly?
We have a very good relationship with the National Assembly because, in fairness to them, they really helped us, to strengthen our laws. But there are some gaps, I think some of the sentences can be a little bit harsher or stiffer. We are already at the process of amending again. As we speak, we've sent out draft copies to the Assembly, and I hope that it's going to be done speedily. But I must say that there's one thing to have the law. This other thing is to implement the law. We have the new law, which says that there shouldn't be option of a fine, minimum 5 years, plus imposition of a fine. Unfortunately, we have judges that keep giving option of fine, and that really, really breaks my heart, because the crime of human trafficking is a very, very serious crime and should not be taken lightly at all.
Well, you talked about change of mindsets, and I want to ask, to what extent are you working with the National Orientation Agency? Do they have a role to play here, and how well are they playing that role? And then the inter-agency collaboration, how important is this, and how would you describe that relationship at the moment?
I'm not going to talk about the National Orientation Agency. I think you should allow them to speak for themselves. I don't know if they are doing their job or not, but we should have a relationship. I remember that when I came to, when I got this job, when I was appointed into NAPTIP, I paid a courtesy call to the DG of the NOA and told him of the need for us to work together. And that's about what happened. So I don't think we've really had much to do together, but they definitely have a role to play. It is their responsibility to carry out a reorientation exercise in the whole of Nigeria. And coming back to interagency cooperation, of course we have interagency. We are meant to have interagency cooperation with all the various law enforcement agencies, but we can't run away from the fact that there's still a lot of unhealthy interagency rivalry. I'll give you a quick example. Maybe an agency intercepts traffickers and traffic victims, rather than just simply refer them to NAPTIP. You see them displaying them on TV and announcing that they arrested traffickers and they rescued victims of trafficking, and they are going to prosecute them. They have no powers to prosecute victims of trafficking. And it just dies a natural death. They never refer them. Even sometimes when we write to them officially and say, hey, you need to refer this case to us, they resist it. So this unhealthy competition, now that human trafficking is in the face of everyone wants to be seen as a human trafficking expert. Now we're talking about violence, we're talking about rape. All of a sudden you have experts all over the place who will not allow the experts to do their job. Unfortunately, this is the situation we find ourselves in, and it's really, really sad.
I know we're wrapping up now, but your job is not an easy one at all. In making this enforcement, I'm sure you'll have had exchange of gunfire and things like that by some of these people. What's the welfare like of members of staff at NAPTIP, and what's the team like? Everybody okay?
Everyone is okay. So far, we've not had any kind of emergency, any kind of situation that has put our officers in danger. We go well prepared. We do our intel, and we make sure that my operatives are well prepared to carry out any kind of operation. I am trying as much as possible to make their welfare a lot better. They deserve much more than they get now because their lives are always on the line. And I think that they deserve much more than this. I'm working on it, and I hope that before the end of my tenure, I'll achieve that.
Well, thank you very much, Madam DG. Thank you for honoring our invitation to speak on this occasion of the World Trafficking Day. Thank you very much.